Hi guys! Welcome po ulit sa aking channel. Good evening, piyog klunganon, assalamualaikum, and magandang gabi sa lahat. Guys, tuloy ko po ang chapter 3 ng His Runaway Wife. He's still your husband. Hashtag he's still your husband. Wait. Chapter 3. When we got to the hospital, I waited with Alexa after they took her x-ray. Then we waited some more until the doctor finally came in to see her. Unfortunately, the x-ray confirmed that she has an ulnar fracture. It is a closed fracture and it is only on the ulnar bone, so she will need a cast. Thankfully, the bone is not out of place, so she won't need surgery. The doctor told me after examining her. I signed in relief. Oh, okay. She doesn't show any signs of confusion, but she will require a few stitches on her forehead and she should take it easy for the rest of the day. I knew that, okay. I knew I could not drive her home like this. I wanted to make sure she was okay while we were here in the city rather than on the road in the middle of nowhere. We would have to stay another day. He knew that. Okay, the nurse and I will come to in a few minutes to put the cast and stitch her up. She smiled. Any questions? I shook my head. No, thank you. He nodded, then made his way out of the room. I stared at his white coat as he walked out. The sound of Alexa crying made me look away. Are you okay? I asked as I took a seat on the chair next to her bed. It hurts, she mumbled as she sobbed. I know, I said as I put my arm around her shoulders. But you're going to be okay. The nurse came in a few seconds later, followed by Aaron, whom I noticed had put on a shirt. How is she? He asked as the nurse began to get ready to stitch her forehead. She'll spend the night, but she's going to be fine, I said, although I was not sure who I was trying to convince more, him or me. I stood up and walked to him. Damian doesn't, he doesn't work here, right? Aaron shook his head. He doesn't, sorry, worry. Okay, I bit my lip as I nodded. Okay, Rebecca, Alexa said nervously as the nurse got ready to stitch her forehead. I sat back next to her and held her hand on her good arms while the nurse stitched her forehead. It was only 3 stitches, so it was not a lot. I got worse. It got worse when the doctor came back to cast her arm. The pain medication didn't kick in until a few minutes in, so she was in pain for the beginning. It was that or she was being overdramatic, which was very Alexa. The procedure took about 30 minutes and she fell asleep shortly after the nurse and doctor left the room. It was a short arm cast, so it was only on her forearm and wrapped around her palm and thumb. The doctor said she would need the cast for about 3 months with doctor checkups in between. They are going to have to transfer her file to Nevada, but I decided to worry about the ones we got back. You don't have to stay here, I told Aaron. We were seated next to each other on the couch that was positioned against the wall. To the left side of the bed, Alexa was sound asleep. Don't be ridiculous. He looked at me. You could come with me to my house. Yeah, right. He shook his head. I don't know what we did to make you hate us so much. I don't hate you. Then why did you run away? Without a call, I know you want nothing to do with him, but Damian has not been himself since you left. He whispering. He was whispering. I raised my eyebrows. Really, I'm surprised he even noticed that I was gone. He sighed. Listen, I don't know what went wrong between you guys, but I do know how much he suffered after you left. So all I'm saying is that you should talk to him. He is still your husband, whether you like it or not. He is still your husband. My husband. I had avoided talking and thinking about Damian for the past 3 years. It was starting to feel like I was not even married, but I was. I was a married woman. I knew Aaron was right. I was Damian's wife, whether I like it or not. It was a fact Dad passed away 3 months ago. Aaron said after a moment of silence. I turned to look at him, but he was looking at the floor. Oh my God, Aaron. I'm so sorry to hear that, I said, placing my hand on his back. He turned to look at me and smiled sadly. It was a heart attack. How ironic, huh? A doctor dying of a heart attack, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. How? I sighed. How is Damian? Aaron raised his eyebrows as he took a deep breath. Damian does what Damian does best. He turned to look at me. He took over Dad's clinic and he's been working nonstop. I literally don't see him and we live in the same house. I got, yeah, that sounds like Damian. You should go see him, Rebecca. At least call him to let him know you're alive. We were beginning to think you were dead. I bit my lip, feeling guilty for the first time in a long time. I'm sorry. I know you don't have to give me any explanation, so I won't ask for them. He put his arms around my shoulder and hugged me. I miss you, Reb. I smiled at the sound of the nickname he baptized me back when we met in college. I miss you too. I paused. I think I'll get a hotel, though. He pulled away. Come on, you don't have to pay for a hotel. I don't want to go back to that house. Is it my mom? He asked. I sighed. I'd rather not talk about it. He nodded slowly. Okay, since you'd have to stay another day, will you please promise me you'll go see Damian? Aaron, I kept my promise, Reb, even though it's killing me not to call him and tell him that you're here. I'm not going to do it because I respect your wish. He's not doing very good and I know that seeing you will really help him, he said as he reached for his wallet in his back pocket. He opened it and took out a white business card. This is the clinic, just in case you didn't remember where it was. I could stay with your sister if that will make you feel better. I half smiled as I took the card. Okay, I still think about it, I said as I looked down at the card. I read Walker Pediatric and it had the address, our phone number, and email Dr. Damian Walker. And you have to tell me where you're staying. Staying. I smiled. God, you're so annoying, I said, making him laugh. It was not until another hour or so when Alexa got discharged. The nurse gave me a big packet of paperwork which made me think about the big bill that was going to arrive in a few weeks. I could only hope the insurance could cover most of it. Since I left my car at the beach, I had to accept a ride from Aaron. You know, we never made it to lunch, he said as he drove. It was around 6 in the evening and the sky was illuminated by twilight. There was not much traffic, but the streets were not totally isolated either. Sorry. I am starving, Alexa said as she leaned in between our seats. Alexa, put on your seatbelt, I scolded. As she sat back and put it on, you are worse than Mom was. Aaron turned to look at me. Was. I cleared my throat. Sure. Let's go eat. Aaron nodded as she turned his attention back to on the road. All right. He took us to a pizza restaurant and we ordered pizza with wings. Alexa was still wearing the arm sling. I wanted her to wear it at least for the first few days until she got used to the cast. She was already complaining about how she was going to have to go to school with the cast. Apparently, that's the worst that could happen to the teenager. What are you doing all the way over here anyway? I asked Aaron as we ate. Is not Beverly Hills like 2 hours away? He nodded slowly. It is, yes. I just came to meet with my friends, the ones back in the beach. I had not seen them in a while, he said with a shrug. So what do you do? Where do you work? I asked, reaching for my drink. I actually own a few properties. I raised my eyebrows. So you're like a landlord. He chuckled. Yeah, I guess so. Wow, your surprise is offensive, he said, looking at me. I laughed. I'm sorry, it's not to be mean. You just don't look like you have your life together. Wow, that means, Alexa said, laughing. Aaron laughed. There's the Rebecca I remember. I smiled as I looked down at my slice of pizza. That's good though. I mean, you did want to go into business. That's what you majored in, right? He nodded. Yes, and you majored in accounting. I did, I said slowly. I didn't really want to talk about my life, and Aaron coughed on that because he asked Alexa what she wanted to study in college. I was grateful for the sorry, wait lang. I was grateful for the change of subject. It's not that I hated my life or anything, it was just that my life was not exactly going how I planned, and talking about it was a reminder I just didn't need that right now. So, tuloy ko lang po, chapter 4. I looked down at the business card on my lap for the 100th time this morning. Walker Pediatric. Do I dare? Do I dare to go? I would be lying if I said I didn't wonder what it would be like to see him again. Ask him how he is doing. I shook my head. No, Rebecca, no, it's a horrible idea. It's a bad idea, I whispered. The bathroom door opened and Alexa came out fresh out of the shower with a towel around her and her hair dripping wet behind her. Do you have any idea how hard it is to shower like this? She said, raising her left arm. She had her arm into a plastic bag and wrapped just below her elbow. You better get used to it, I told her as I placed the business card in my purse. Do you want me to help you change? No, she said as she pulled the towel off. She was wearing her bra and underwear. Like you said, I better get used to it. Okay, I said as I stood up. I'm going to shower and then we'll leave around 2 or something. Wait, we're already leaving? I thought we were staying. I shook my head. We're not. We already stayed long enough, I said as I went through my bag. I had run out of clean clothes, so I went with the jeans and v-neck blouse I wore on the day we got here. Rebecca, huh? I said as I looked for my last clean panties. Why did you lie to me about Damian? You told me you divorced him. I froze, then straightened up to look at her. We're practically divorced. She shook her head. Do you? No, you're not. You're still married to him. I don't want to talk about it. She finished for me. I'm not a little girl anymore. Rebecca, don't you trust me? I look at her. Of course I do. There's just no point in talking about this. He is in my past and we're leaving and I'll probably never see him again. I said as I grabbed my clothes. Now I am going to shower and then we'll be on our way, okay? Okay, she said quietly as she began to tug on the plastic bag. I turned around and went into the bathroom without another word. Alexa was 14 when I got married, so she still remembered him. When I returned to Nevada, I told her I had divorced him so she would stop asking him. It was not entirely a lie. We were separated and I was never going to see him again. Curiosity almost got the best of me, and curiosity killed the cat, so it's best if we just leave. I took a quick shower and then changed and combed my hair. Alexa still had not changed when I walked out of the bathroom. I tried to put on jeans and failed. She said, can you help me put this dress? She said, holding the dress with her good hand. I smiled. I knew you would need my help. Don't flatter yourself, she said as she raised her hands. I put the dress over her head and through her arms, then zipped it up on the back. She sat on the bed and looked through the channels while I packed. Have you even called Aaron? We don't have the car, remember? Alexa said as she stared at the TV. Oh, damn, I said as I pressed my finger against my forehead. I forgot about the damn car. Aaron had dropped us off at a hotel last night and I promised to come today so he could drive us to the beach. I didn't realize until now that I didn't even know if you could park overnight there. I reached for my phone and called Aaron, but we still had to wait at least for 2 hours until he would get here. I can't believe I forgot. As I sat next to Alexa, she shrugged. We can watch a movie. I took out of my phone and googled the parking lot hours of the beach. Well, damn, what? Alexa asked, turning to look at me. We can't park overnight without a permit. The car might have been towed. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Why didn't I think of this last night? Damn, that sucks. I nodded. There will probably be a ticket and a fee. I shook my head. I can't believe this is happening. Don't get ahead, though maybe we'll get lucky and it be there. I hope so. I leaned my head back on the wall and closed my eyes. I think I took a little nap because the sound of someone knocking on the door made me open my eyes. I stood up and walked to the door. I unlocked it, then pulled it open. Aaron, thank God. I stopped because standing in front of me was not Aaron. The man seems taller than I remembered. Maybe it was because I had not seen him in such a long time. He was wearing a gray suit with a white dress shirt underneath and shiny black shoes. His dark brown blonde hair was cut short on the sides with the hair longer on top of his head which was combed back. The dark stubble and dark circle under his eyes made him look older and tired at the same time. He had changed. I watched as his brown eyes scanned my body as if he could not believe I was standing in front of him. I never thought I would see him again, and I had a bittersweet feeling about having the man in front of me. Part of me admired how handsome he was and reminded me why I fell in love with him, while the other part of me reminded me why I decided to leave him 3 years ago. My heart was beating hard against my chest. Damian, I finally choked out, breaking the silence. What are you doing here? Did Aaron tell you I was here? I asked, my voice getting louder with anger. A frown crossed his handsome face. Aaron knows you're here, I called him. I turned around to look at Alexa. You what? I called his office and told him you were here. I know you. Can tell, can yell me when we get home. She grabbed my phone. I'll be in the lobby, she said, walking past me. She stopped in front of Damian and looked up at him. You're welcome, she said, then walked out without another word. Damian would not take his eyes off of me. I suddenly began to worry about how I looked. My hair was probably frizzy as it always was after it dried. I was not wearing any makeup and I was wearing dirty clothes. Go figure. Did you want to come in? I finally asked, avoiding his gaze. He was starting to intimidate me. Damian already had this aura about him that made you feel inferior when you were around him. I didn't think he was even aware of it, although he could be arrogant at times. He looked he took a few steps and walked into the room. I closed the door and behind him when I turned around, I gasped when the man put his arms around me and embraced me in a tight hug. He was taller than me, so my face was close to his neck. After a moment, I put my arms on his shoulder cautiously. Closed my eyes as I smelled him. He still used the same cologne I had bought him on his birthday the last time we spent it together. Something inside me warmed at the thought and I realized just how much I have missed him. I didn't know how long we stood like that. It felt like an eternity. Yet at the same time, I didn't feel like a long time. After a moment, I felt his arms around my waist loosen and I opened my eyes and took a step back. His arms fell to his sides as he shook his head. I didn't think I was going to see you again. I lowered my gaze. Me either. He raised his hands as if to reach for me, then stopped and dropped it to his side. Rebecca, where the hell have you been? Why did you leave? Why did you run away? There was an anger in his voice I could not ignore. Oh God, I was so not ready to have this conversation. I had avoided all of these questions when Aaron asked me, but it was different with Damian. Damian, I really don't want to have this conversation, I said, hoping he would hear the beg behind my voice. He clenched his jaw. You told Aaron you were here and not me. I looked up at him. I didn't tell him I was here. It was a coincidence that I saw him at the beach. He shook his head. And he didn't tell me. I made him promise he would not tell you I was here. Why? He asked, looking at me. He shook his head in disbelief. I'm your husband, Rebecca. You do remember that, right? I pursed my lips. Yes, I know that. He frowned. How could you do that? How could you just walk out and never came back? He reached out and put his hands on my arms. Wait lang, wait. Saan na yun? Do you have any idea of what I've done to try to find you? I searched everywhere and you just disappeared. Why? Where the hell have you been all this time? Will you please let me go? I asked him. He looked at me for a moment and then let me go. Before I could say anything, his phone began to ring. He, looking annoyed as he reached for it in his pocket. What is it? He answered. I walked past him to the bed and I reached for my purse while he spoke on the phone. I had a text from Alexa telling me that Aaron was down in the lobby with her. I reached for my bag and purse. Where are you going? The man asked when I turned around. Aaron is down in the lobby. He's going to take me to get my car, I said, avoiding his gaze. He took a step forward. Rebecca, we are not done here. What's the point for even having this conversation? I have to go back home, back to my life. This is your life, he said. Here, with me. I look up at him. Damian's nothing is going to change. I have a job. Alexa has school. We have to go. I reached for the room key, then walked out of the room with him following close behind me. Aaron and Alexa were waiting for us in the lobby. Aaron stood up when he saw us, and I could see his body tense a bit when he saw Damian behind me. Damian, Aaron said slowly, you and I are going to talk later. Damian promised. Right now, I need you to get Rebecca's car with Alexa while Rebecca and I talk. I turned to look at him. Damian, I need an explanation, Rebecca, he said, looking at me with a desperate look in his brown eyes. Don't you think you owe me at least that? We stared at each other for a moment. I was fighting with myself. I knew I did owe him an explanation, but I was scared to where that could lead. My mind wandered to what I would be doing right now if I was back to the safe state of Nevada. I was away from him. Today was Monday, so I will be working, probably catching up to where I left off on Thursday. I will be looking up and greeting customers as they walk in the bank while the tellers help them with their transaction. Okay, I finally said, turning to look at Alexa. Are you going to be okay? Yes, Alexa said. I nodded slowly, then looked at Aaron. Please take care of her. No bars or clubs, and don't take her with your friends. Aaron half smiled. I don't hang out with the same people you know. Hard to believe. I offered him a smile. Don't worry, we're just gonna go to a strip club. He teased as he leaned in to kiss my cheek. Stop it, I warned. He chuckled as he grabbed my suitcase and Alexa's ready, he asked her. She nodded as she glanced at Damian and then smiled at me. Bye, bye, I said, but she was already following Aaron outside. I stood there for a moment, feeling Damian's gaze on me. Okay, I said nervously, let's go. Guys, hanggang doon lang muna sa kita ng aking ulo. Guys, sorry sa late uploading po. Sabagay, hindi pa naman late. Thank you dun sa mga nag-send pa rin. Guys, sobrang dami na kaya sorry talaga, hindi ko rin makaya. And, ayun. Thank you. So, please subscribe, share, comment, shares po ng ating channels. And, beware po sa mga matured contents po natin. Thank you. Goodbye and good evening.